It's been 2 years since the first season of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Maybe you need a refresher, or maybe you didn't watch or finish the first season. Whatever the case, I've got you covered. Today I'm doing a lighthearted and lightning speed recap of The Rings of Power Season 1 in 12 minutes. In a flashback prologue, Finrod drops knowledge on his younger sister Galadriel. Rocks sink and boats float. And sometimes to know the light, you gotta touch the darkness. Morgoth destroys the two trees. The elves pursue him to Middle-earth where big-time battles take place. Morgoth is defeated and Finrod dies. Galadriel is sad. 1,000 years later, Galadriel leads a company of elves trying to track down Sauron, which is her life mission now that Finrod is dead. They find signs of evil deeds, Sauron's symbol, and fight a troll. Galadriel's company say they won't follow her anymore. Galadriel returns to find Elrond, who isn't invited to important elf meetings. Gil-galad says war is over and grants Galadriel the honor of getting the heck out of his kingdom by sailing west. Elrond says, hey Galadriel, maybe you're wrong about the evil still being around, and Galadriel says, nah. Galadriel takes the boat but changes her mind at the last minute, dives into the water, and starts the world's longest endurance swim. In the Southlands, elf soldier Arondir helps watch over men whose ancestors fought with Morgoth. Lots of humans don't like him, but he dreams of smoochy kissing Bronwyn. Her son Theo has a sword hilt that has Sauron's mark. A meteor crashes from the sky and two Harfoots, Nori and Poppy, discover a man inside who kept his pants but lost his memory. Galadriel continues going for gold when she comes across a shipwrecked raft of Humies. Galadriel is found out to be an elf. Galadriel is mad. They get attacked by a fish dragon. Yes, that's a real Tolkien term. No, I don't know if that's what they call this thing. And only one other person survives. Totally normal human dude Halbrand. Galadriel won't rest until she finds Sauron. This will be ironic. They both survive a storm and get picked up. Nori and Poppy do their best to keep the stranger hidden and to find out about him, but the stranger can't speak common tongue. He uses fireflies to show constellation, and it's really nice and a beautiful moment, so maybe he's good. But the fireflies die, so maybe he's bad. Elrond fanboys over Celebrimbor, greatest smith of the age, as he's sent to help build a new forge. Celebrimbor's grandpa was Feanor, the greatest smith ever, and Brimby wants to elevate his game. Celebrimbor needs more muscle, so Elrond visits his old friend Durin. Elrond hasn't visited Durin in 20 years, and Durin is mad. They hug it out. If by hugging you mean smashing a bunch of rocks. Elrond apologizes and Durin's wife Disa insists he stay. Elrond's tree he gave Durin a long time ago is thriving. It's super sweet, their friendship is awesome. Also, the dwarves have found Mithril. Durin's dad, Durin III, doesn't trust the elves. Arondir checks out a nearby destroyed village and creepy tunnels and gets captured. Bronwyn saves her son from an orc and uses its head to convince everyone to leave. They flee to a tower. Galadriel and Halbrand are picked up by Numenorians led by Elendil. They are brought to the island realm and Galadriel tells Halbrand they are the bee's knees of mortals, but not so much lately. Galadriel wants safe passage back to Middle-earth, the Numenorians say nah. Galadriel insults Numenor, Miriel pushes back, Galadriel threatens Numenor. Miriel doesn't like that, Galadriel is mad. Halbrand swipes back Galadriel's dagger with a bro hug. Isildur is a distracted sailor and the sea is always right.
The sea is always right!
The white tree is super important and Miriel and Elendil dance around being faithful to the Valar and the elves. Galadriel tries to escape but is caught by Elendil. Galadriel threatens Elendil but instead goes with him to the Halls of Lore. Galadriel likes horse rides. They discover Sauron's symbol is a map of Mordor. Halbrand just wants to make swords but isn't allowed to make swords and beats up bullies in an alley. Galadriel thinks Halbrand is a lost king of the Southlands. The Harfoots sing about nobody walking alone, then talk about all the people they left for dead. Stranger stumbles in, so they think about leaving Nori's family for dead. Sadok takes pity on them, and Hobo Baggins helps them to not die. Arondir wakes up as part of an elf chain gang digging trenches. The orcs offer water all creepy-like. Lead orc kills Arondir's buddy, even Jed orc is shocked at Luke orc, but then he catches up and laughs. Classic orc prank. Arondir agrees to chop down a really cool tree to save the other elves, which is a bummer because it's a really nice tree. Arondir does cool acrobatic fighting while the elves try to escape. It does not go well. Miriel has a vision of Numenor being destroyed by a great wave. It's awesome. Not so much for Numenor though. Meanwhile, the men of Numenor are mad because the elves will take their trades.
Taking your trades!
Pharazôn steps in and says take a chill pill. Galadriel meets with Miriel and wants them to fight in the Southlands. Miriel says no thanks. Galadriel is tempestly mad and insults Miriel. She gets thrown in jail. Suspicious Dude teaches her how to manipulate people, which is suspicious. Galadriel pushes 4 guards into a closed cell, escapes, and finds the debilitated king. Miriel shows her the Palantir, which shows Galadriel the vision of the destroying wave. Adar comforts a dying orc. He was once an elf, but is now an Uruk. He tells Arondir to tell the Southlanders to join or die. Theo stabs himself with the shard, which reforms the sword. Arondir kills Jed, and they escape through the woods. Awesome transition to Disa singing to the rocks. Elrond discovers Durin is hiding something. Durin confides in him the secret of Mithril. Durin is mad at his dad. Elrond bonds over dad stuff. It's very sweet. Creepy Waldrag dude is creepy toward Theo about the sword. Miriel ships Galadriel off, but the leaves of the white tree start falling, so she changes her mind. Numenor will fight. Isildur and his bros enlist to go. Stranger thinks he might be bad. Nori says he's good. Poppy sings This Wandering Day over a montage. It is delightful. Slim Shady and her friends are looking for the stranger. Hobbits are attacked by wolves and the stranger saves them, so he's probably good. But smacking the ground gives him a boo-boo. Stranger ices his hand, speaking Elvish, freaks out Nori, so maybe he's bad. The sun burns the orcs, but Adar's got a plan to block it out. Bronwyn and Waldreg have dueling speeches. Half stay to fight, the others leave to join the orcs. Waldreg pledges his service to Sauron, but oops, Adar isn't Sauron. Adar makes him kill a kid. Theo and Arondir bond over arrows, Theo reveals the sword. Elendil says Isildur can't go into battle. Halbrand gets to make a sword. Galadriel wants Halbrand to reclaim the throne of the Southlands. Halbrand says no way. Galadriel trains the volunteer army to sword fight. Pharazôn has his own motive, saying Miriel goes to war for Galadriel, he goes to war for Numénor. This will probably be important for Season 2. Tar Palantir tells his daughter not to go to Middle-earth because darkness awakes her, foreshadowing. Isildur's buddies go out drinking. Ontimo tells his girlfriend he'll come back from the war. He won't. Isildur's buddy punches him so he'll sneak him into the ships. Isildur stows away, but Pharazôn's son Kemen sets the ships on fire. Ship explodes, suspicion ensues. Halbrand tells Galadriel he's done some bad stuff. Galadriel tells him she can't stop fighting, and tells him to earn his peace by becoming king. Sauron, totally human dude Halbrand, stares at the king pouch, decides to go to Middle-earth. Numenor goes to war. Durin has dinner with the elves and makes a poop joke, then tricks the elves into giving him a free table. Gil-galad asks Elrond to tell him his story of the roots of Hithyglir. Elrond says that story is BS, Gil-galad says tell it anyway. An elf and a Balrog fight over a tree with a Silmaril inside. The tree is struck by lightning and makes Mithril grow in the mountain. Gil-galad reveals the linden tree is dying and therefore the elves will die if they stay in Middle-earth, but maybe the magic metal can save them. He asks Elrond if the dwarves found it, and Elrond is like, can't tell you that. Celebrimbor comes in to put on more pressure, says Mithril is the answer, and puts Elrond in a tough spot. Elrond asks Durin for help. Durin agrees after getting his sweet new table. Adar and the orcs march to battle at the tower, but psych, Arondir springs a trap and brings the place down. Southlanders prepare for battle the next morning. Insert pre-battle speech. Arondir and Bronwyn smoochy kiss. Galadriel bonds with Isildur and Elendil on the ship. Elendil reveals his wife drowned. Super bummer because
The sea is always right!
Orcs show up, men spring a trap, and kill a bunch of them. Arondir gets orc blood in his mouth, and probably hepatitis. But psych, the orcs were actually the humans who left. Orcs attack, and they hold up in the pub. Bronwyn is shot and dies, except she doesn't. Numenorians charge on horses as the sun rises. The orcs break into the pub and start killing people until Theo gives up the sword. Numenor shows up and kicks orc butt. Halbrand saves Elendil. Galadriel and Halbrand chase down Adar. Halbrand wants to kill him, Galadriel says no. Adar and Galadriel chat. Adar wants the orcs to have a place to live, Galadriel wants to kill them all. Galadriel wants to kill Adar, Halbrand says no. They have a heart-to-heart. Halbrand wants to bind the feeling of fighting by her side to him. Gross. Hail Halbrand, king of the Southlands. They finally check the sword and psych, it's a hatchet. Crazy old Waldreg puts the sword in the key slot, which breaks down the dam, which lets loose the water, which flows down the tunnels, which lead to the volcano, which sets off Mount Doom. Massive smoke clouds envelops the town, and everyone talks about pyroclastic flow for the first time ever. Galadriel wakes up. The set is orange and ashy and super cool. Galadriel teams up with Theo and leaves. Isildur helps save Valandil, but then a house falls on him and he dies. Spoiler alert for Season 2, he doesn't really. Theo wants to attack the orcs. Galadriel says that's not a great idea. Numenorians and Southlanders flee, and Elendil finds out Isildur is dead, but he's not. Miriel was blinded by the ash. Galadriel and Theo bond on their road trip. Celeborn finally gets a mention. He's been MIA and presumed dead. Spoiler alert for sometime in the future, he's not. She tells Theo to let go of the burden of screwing up, and they have a get off the road moment with the orcs. Isildur's horse Beric won't listen to anyone, so Elendil lets him go, perhaps to find his definitely not dead master. Theo goes into the wounded tent to find his mom dead, except she's not. Galadriel apologizes to Miriel. Elendil says they should have never come to Middle-earth. Miriel pledges aid to the elves. Elendil mourns the death of his son, who is not dead. Arondir and Bronwyn say they'll head to Pelargir. Halbrand is injured real bad. He needs elvish medicine and promptly rides to a Region like a sack of potatoes. The hobbits find a grove all burned up, but Stranger starts to heal a tree, so maybe he's good. But a branch falls down on a couple hobbits, so maybe he's bad. Stranger sets out to search for the stars and to not be a danger to the hobbits. The Harfoots wake up and the tree is healed, so the stranger is probably good. The bad witches show up and spring fire up everywhere. They're definitely bad. The next morning, the Harfoots say they have big hearts and 4 of them head to find the stranger. Elrond shows off his Khuzdul skills, but Durin the Third refuses to help the elves. Durin the Fourth is mad. Elrond leaves, but the Mithril heals the leaf. Durin and Elrond mine in secret on their own, and they are buddies. It's sweet. Durin almost tells Elrond his secret name, and they find a boatload of Mithril. Papa Durin shows up and kicks out Elrond. Both Durins are mad. They have it out, and the king takes away his son's necklace. Durin is sad, and probably still mad. Durin the Third chucks the leaf through the hole, and the Balrog is mad about littering. Adar tells the orcs they don't need cloaks anymore. Title card goes from Southlands to Mordor, so this is Mordor now. Stranger wakes up in the rainy woods. The mystics find him and say, "You're Sauron," so he's probably bad. Galadriel shows up and Elrond is like, WTF you doing here? The elves get to work healing the mortal dude Halbrand so he doesn't die because he's totally mortal. They do a good job because the next thing we know, he stumbles into Celebrimbor's forge to fanboy. Halbrand checks out the mithril and Celebrimbor says it's not enough to do the job they need to do. Halbrand says try an alloy. And Celebrimbor is like, holy cow bro, that's a great idea. We back in business. Celebrimbor says they need to make something small. It needs to be circular so the power arcs upon itself, like a crown. Gil-galad says this is a bad idea. Elrond asks for a few months to try it out. Galadriel starts to get suspicious and asks Jeeves to research the Southlands. In Numénor, Elendil's daughter and other people draw the king as he's asleep for a memorial after he's dead. Kinda grim and creepy. Eärien is alone with the king when he starts raving. She finds the Palantir. Miriel practices walking blind. She and Elendil talk about being faithful. They're gonna do what's right no matter what. They return to Numénor to see black flags. The king is dead. Pharazôn looks on, seemingly emotional. The witches tie up Stranger and the hobbits come to the rescue, but the Stranger is a decoy. Sadok gets stabbed. Stranger is worried he can only bring destruction, so maybe he's bad. But he beats the bad guys, so he's good.
I'm good.
Nazgals are defeated. Sadok dies at sunrise. Nori takes off with the wizard who says follow your nose, and they head to Rhûn. The mithril blows up the forge. It can't be forced into another metal, it has to be coaxed. Halbrand comes in and says they're making 2 instead of 1, not crowns, but something smaller, but also circular. Maybe friendship bracelets, he doesn't say. Jeeves gave Galadriel a scroll. There's no king of the Southlands. Bum-ba-bum. Normal human dude is actually evil dude Sauron. Sauron gives Galadriel crazy hallucinations with Finrod. She turns away, then she's on the raft again. Sauron wants Galadriel to be his queen. He will give her power, she will keep him good. Galadriel says, nah, I'm good. They're both mad. Galadriel wakes up from the vision, Sauron is gone, and Elrond proves he's Elrond. Galadriel says Halbrand is gone and nobody should ever treat with him again. They go forward with the plan. Galadriel gives up her dagger to make 3 small circular objects. Elrond goes Sherlock and finds the scroll, but it's too late. They've made 3 rings. Sauron arrives in Mordor and sees Mount Doom. Cut to black, season over. Whew, there you go folks. The Rings of Power Season 1 as quickly as I can manage. Now we'll be diving into Season 2 coverage very soon, and personally, I think Season 2 is looking like an improvement over Season 1 so far, but time will tell. Be sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you don't miss our Season 2 watch parties or the episode breakdowns here on Nerd of the Rings.